Hi there, this is Nick and welcome to the Windows of Opportunity Business Growth Training. In this video, we're going to look at some very simple actions you can take to get your current customers spending more money with you. In the first part of the training, I'll explain the strategy behind the Windows of Opportunity. Then we'll spend the rest of the masterclass looking at how to implement it in different types of businesses. So you'll know what to do by the time you're done with this training. It's a pretty easy idea to implement it, but it's very, very, very effective. And I'll give you some examples of this actually as we go through the training. And if you apply and implement what you're about to learn in this training, your business will grow. Your current accounts will spend more money with you because you'll be doing a better job of growing those accounts proactively. You'll discover simple ways to find new opportunities in your old accounts. You'll also stop the competition getting a foothold in your client base. It'll be easier to protect your profit margins, which is critical in business today. Now, companies that fail to use account growth strategies like this tend to leave a lot of money on the table for their competitors. You don't want to be doing that. Often they lose key accounts because they let the competition steal their accounts and never quite understood how did that happen? How did that come to be? What did we do wrong? And obviously, you hear me say this at the beginning of every training, grab the downloads using the link near the video. It's often helpful to have those ready to go through because they'll be showing you a couple of tools as we go through the training today, and it'd be handy to have those tools printed out and ready in front of you. Not critical, but definitely helpful. And obviously, every video, we create an MP3 track of it. So when you're driving around in your car in what would traditionally be downtime, you can reinforce what we're covering in the training by playing the MP3s while you're driving around. I used to call my car my university in wheels because I learned so much while I was driving around in downtime. Before we get into the core content for this training, I want to first tell you a short story that I first heard over 30 years ago now. The story made me realize the importance of harvesting all the opportunities that were right in front of me first. After listening to the story, I suddenly realized I was missing a lot of quick wins that I could have harvested had I known where to focus. The Acres of Diamonds story, as it's known, is the story of an African farmer who heard tales about other farmers who had made millions by discovering diamond mines. These tales so excited the farmer that he could hardly wait to sell his farm and go prospecting for diamonds himself. Eventually he sold his farm and then spent the rest of his life wandering the African continent, searching unsuccessfully for the gleaming gems that brought such high prices on the markets of the world. Finally, worn out and in a fit of depression, he threw himself into a river and drowned. Meanwhile, the man who had bought his farm happened to be crossing the small stream on the property one day when suddenly there was a bright flash of blue and red light from the stream bottom. He bent down and picked up a stone. It was a good-sized stone, and admiring it, he brought it home and put it on his fireplace mantel as an interesting curiosity. Several weeks later, a visitor picked up the stone, looked closely at it, hefted it in his hand, and nearly fainted. He asked the farmer if he knew what he'd found. When the farmer said no, that he thought it was just a piece of crystal, the visitor told him he had found one of the largest diamonds ever discovered. The farmer had trouble believing it. He told the man that his creek was full of such stones, not all as large as the one on the mantel, but sprinkled generously throughout the creek bottom. The farm, and this is the point, the farm the first farmer had sold so that he might find a diamond mine turned out to be one of the most productive diamond mines in the entire African continent. The first farmer had owned it free and clear, acres of diamonds, but he had sold them for practically nothing in order to look for them elsewhere. The moral is clear. Collect the diamonds in your own business first. These are the quickest wins. And that brings me to a second story. Many years ago, I had a job selling technology systems for a major US tech company. I was doing mostly new business, and it was very much a high-performance culture. We got paid a lot of money, but we had to produce results, and we had to produce them quickly. So there was always a bit of pressure on. Now, one of my colleagues got sacked for underperformance not long after I was there, and I was asked to look after a handful of his accounts. I did some fast research on the accounts I was given and identified 2 potential opportunities for growth. Called them both up, and I arranged to visit one particular account where I thought I could add some real value. Within 4 months, I had a contract for £3.2 million, or about $5 million. Dead easy, no competition, great margins, long-term contract, client excited because I'd solved the problem for him. I'm excited because I've just earned a chunk of cash and did a great job for my client. My employer is excited because I just brought in another large account. Now, here's the thing. This was an account with a previous salesperson who did not know what to do or simply didn't make the effort to actually do the work required. In either case, I reaped the rewards of my efforts and he suffered the consequences of his. So here's the thing to think about. Have you ever walked into an existing account and discovered they were buying things you sell, but they were buying them from one of your competitors? When you asked them about it, they responded that they did not realize you even sold that. And sometimes, and this is really frustrating, you actually had the conversation with them at some earlier time. I'm about to show you how to stop that happening using a concept called range selling. So let's talk about this idea of range selling. This is an idea I borrowed from the retail sector. So you think in the retail sector, their objective when to use it is to train their customers to buy an ever-expanding range of products and services from the store. So imagine for a minute that you're a retailer and I'm your customer. And we'll keep this really simple. Just imagine you sell 2 product ranges. I buy the products in the first product range from you, but I don't buy products from the second product range from you. I buy those products from a competitor because that's where I'm used to shopping for them. The second product range is your opportunity to have me spend more money in your location. It's what I refer to as a window of opportunity. And when we say windows of opportunity, what do we mean? Another way to think about this is think of your business as a chessboard with customers on one axis and all of your products and services on the other. Your goal is to locate opportunities where certain customers are not buying certain products from you. And I'll show you some other visuals on this in a minute, so this will become very clear. This gives you a system for planning your moves ahead in your accounts and leave your competition out in the cold. You become the player and they become the chess piece. The problem is that many people don't systematically grow their accounts. They do the bit they do and they leave the competition do the bit they do. If you look at how a retail store or a catalogue is organized, you'll see it's arranged by product groupings, which they refer to as product ranges, hence the product range reference earlier. And the mission is to get you to buy products across all the ranges, called range selling, obviously. We're going to learn to do the same thing in your business from a B2B, a business-to-business perspective. Now, I'm going to give you some instructions of some really simple things to do. They will seem blatantly obvious, but, and it's a big but, I'm about to explain an exercise that I'm going to encourage you strongly to do. It may seem like you already understand the idea, but the value is in doing the exercise. So the first thing we need to do is make a list of everything you sell. This may seem like a really basic activity to do, but you would be amazed at the number of companies I come across that don't have one consistent list of all the products and services they sell. And if the seller is not crystal clear on what they could potentially offer to the customer, it's going to be impossible. So I'm going to say that again. It's going to be impossible for the customer to be clear on what they could buy from the seller. When you're creating that list, remember to do it from the customer's perspective and not from your internal perspective. And I'll show you some good and some bad examples in a second, so you can see some contrast between the two. So I would strongly recommend do this as a team exercise. Have somebody in your team make a list of everything that a customer could possibly buy from you. And here's the way to think about it. If you can raise an invoice for it, it goes on the list. If you can't invoice it, you can't put it on the list. For example, if you're a printing or manufacturing company, you could not put good service on the list. Even though you may get the client good service, you can't put good service on the list because you can't raise an invoice for it. But you could put, in the print example, envelopes, letterheads, compliment slips on the list. So once you've done that, the next thing I want you to do is create one master list. So currently everybody has an individual list. Now we're going to create one master list. And the way you do that is have each person call out the individual items from their list. As an item is called out, everybody crosses that item off their individual list. Keep going until everybody has everything crossed off the list. So you see the instructions there on the screen. One individual list from everybody. Combine it all into one master list and then segment into product categories, which I'm going to show you how to do now. So you see a tool on the screen in front of you called Product and Service Groupings. So you've received a copy of that. It should be in your download area someplace. If you've got that printed out, that would be really helpful. Your goal with this tool is to take the product listing we just completed and segment it into product categories. And I'll show you how to do this. So if you're wondering how do you do that, I will show you in a minute. So this is think about this as your business to business version of what happens in a retail store or a web store. In a retail environment, products are organized into product categories or departments or product ranges using the term we've used. You're simply going to do the same thing, but you're doing it for your business in the business to business sector. So I'm going to show you some good and bad examples of this so you know what to do. So what you're looking at on the screen at the moment is the wrong way to do it. So this is actually from our own business. And what you're looking at is a listing of some of our products and services. This is the way we look at them internally. So we've got an online learning platform, which is what you're currently using. We do live events and we do private client work. That's the way we think about it internally. But it's not the way, and this is the point, it's not the way our customers think about what we do. When customers think about the types of things we do, they do it from their perspective, not from ours. So they may be considering issues such as sales training, business growth acceleration programs, sales management, or customer optimization. So if we have a client who is engaged in a sales management training, we immediately know there are 3 other product categories where we could also help them. They would be the 3 windows of opportunity, referencing the title to this training session. So these would be a bad example from a modern print or marketing communications company. This is the way they may think about these products and services internally, but it's not the way a client would typically think about them. It's unlikely that a customer is going to ring up and ask if the company does short-term digital or long-term LiTAR. It's also likely they will ask for a web-to-print application because in most cases, they won't even know what it is. A customer may think about it from this perspective. They may think about customer development mailings, so customer acquisition, or customer transactional mailings like invoicing, etc., or account statements. They may be looking for marketing material or promotional goods. If they're doing some new marketing, they may be looking for somebody to help them with data management and data testing. If the client has a distributed business environment, they may be looking for help with marketing logistics. You will know, and this is what it comes down to, you're going to know your customers best. And you have to consider how would they think about your products and services and what categories are most likely to make most sense to the customer, not to the supplier. Now that we know what we sell, we can talk about it in a way that makes sense to the customer. We need to next identify where the opportunities are within the accounts. So we need to find those windows of opportunity. The Strategic Windows of Opportunity tool is another tool you will have received in your downloads area. Hopefully you've printed that out and hopefully you've got it in front of you. So the goal here is pretty simple. List the product groupings or product categories you just created in the row headings across the top. You will see I have already created 2 versions of this using the examples we just covered. And down the columns on the left, take just from that section again. And down the columns on the left, you list your top key accounts. In order to get started, you may select between maybe 5 to 10 of your top accounts. The Strategic Windows of Opportunity is another tool you will have received in your downloads area. Hopefully you've grabbed that and hopefully you've printed it out and hopefully you have it in front of you. It'll certainly be helpful if you have. And the goal here is pretty simple. List, and I'll show you different versions of this so you'll see this from a few different perspectives. So this will make sense by the time we're done. So what you would do is you'd list your product groupings or product categories, the ones we just created in the previous section, in row headings across the top. You'll see the examples we've got from the ones we just discussed. So you'll see there's 2 versions of this using the examples we covered. The screen is split in 2, so the top half is one example from our company. The bottom half is another example from the marketing communications or modern print company. And you'll see down the left, we've got started to list some of the key accounts. So in order to get started, the quick way to do this is pick maybe no more than 5 to 10 accounts, so some of your best accounts, and get started with a small target list. We'll come back to that again in a few minutes' time in this training. Once you've created your product categories and you've selected your top 5, maybe 10 accounts, you can now start looking for the windows of opportunity. So what you're looking at on the screen, every shaded box tells me that either the customer does not buy that product category or that they buy it from us. So there's no opportunity in there. So in either case, a shaded box tells me no window of opportunity. All the blank boxes indicate that the customer buys this product, but they don't buy it from us. They are our windows of opportunity. Now all you have to do is recreate your version of that using the two tools we just covered in the previous few slides. And by the way, this is one of the best strategies for keeping the competition out of your accounts. Think about this. How many times have you spoken to one of your clients and discovered they were buying products and services you sold, and when you inquired, they either didn't realize you sold them or they'd forgotten you sold them even though you told them previously? This is unnecessarily allowing the competition to penetrate your accounts. Now you have a simple strategy for stopping that, which is the windows of opportunity strategy. And this is also a great way to evaluate new products and services that you're thinking of developing. Imagine you consider making an investment in some new equipment or introducing some new service, and you want to get a sense of who has the potential to use it in your existing accounts. So let's just imagine you're a marketing communications company and you're thinking of investing in a web-to-print system. The easiest way to do that is add it to the product list, as we did in row 7 on the screen here, and then go through the account list and note in real money the amount each account might spend in that product category. Have your sales team fully participate in this exercise? I've met a lot of business owners who have invested in new products or services, and now they're not selling very much of them. They made the investment in the new offering before they had a strategy for selling it, particularly to their own accounts, which is the obvious place to start. You should always validate your assumptions by actually calling specific accounts before you make major investment decisions, particularly related to new products and new services. You'll remember we discussed in a previous masterclass that the majority of companies, most of their business is tied up in a small number of elephants or platinum accounts. We want to keep the competition out of those accounts, and we want to maximize the opportunities within those accounts. So the best accounts to start this process with are either your existing platinum accounts or a small handful of gold and silver accounts who have potential to spend at higher platinum level. And of course, once you have that initial list of 10 accounts, you may need to do a little bit of research so you can identify where the opportunities actually exist. So now we're going to focus, because when you've researched your target list of 10 accounts, I want you to prioritize the top 5. Now we need to focus down. So when you've researched your target list of 10 accounts, I want you to prioritize the top 5, then select the best 3 from that list of 5, and that's where we're going to start. So we've got an narrow focus so we can get going quickly. Next, we're going to take that list of 10, which we call the hot list, and we're going to put it in priority order, and we're going to put it on a board someplace where it's visible. Don't just keep it on a file in your computer or in a folder someplace. It needs to be someplace where it's visible and constantly gets your visual attention. You'll see in the downloads area we provided a sample tool that you can use for this called the hot list. Just want to touch on a couple of the column headings. Company name, hopefully that's fairly obvious. The opportunity, what you put in there is maybe the particular product area or the department or the division of the business, etc. that you're focusing on. Something that reminds you that's the area of focus, that's the window of opportunity. Money, what you put in there is it's not a financial forecast, but some sense of the size of the opportunity. And meeting booked, the date of next meeting. That's so you've got a sense of, have we actually got traction? So have we booked a meeting with this opportunity, with this, the key contact in the account? So we've got a firm date in the diary so we can move that opportunity forward. Having the list is one thing, having a date in the diary is obviously much better. And your goal is get the meeting in the diary as quick as you can. And do remember, start small. Initially, we're going to focus on maybe 3 from that list of 10. You're far more likely to act on a list of 3 items than you are to act on a list of 10. We all know that 10 seems quite a bit, 3 seems very doable, 1 is absolutely doable. So even if you start with 1, that would be great. And just keep taking small, simple steps as you begin to implement what you're learning in this training. We all know the old adage of how to eat an elephant, 1 bite at a time. And the way to grow your business and grow your sales is by implementing 1 simple idea at a time. That's how you produce real results in real business. And to keep it really simple, your first goal is to take 1 account and book 1 meeting and go talk to them. Once you have 1 done, then you can move to the next one. As you heard me say a number of times, you don't make money from ideas, you make money from implementing ideas. You're far more likely to be successful if you talk to 1 account versus thinking about talking to 10 and not acting on any of it. So that's what we're going to cover in this training. Now it's time obviously to get started using these new skills you're getting and get implementing based on the implementation guidelines we just gave you. And remember, keep coming back and keep pressing play each week. That simple investment of 1 hour per week in your future, that's all it takes to gain a sustainable competitive advantage. I'll see you in the next training and the next video. And as you heard me say often, don't worry if you miss a week. Profitology isn't going anyplace. It's a business growth library, and when you're ready to grow, this is the place to go. It'll always be waiting here for you. We'll be here when you come back the next time. And remember, before you go, it'll only take 2 minutes. Watch the dynamic learning review coming right up. Wait, don't hit the stop button just yet. Before we finish with this masterclass, we're going to do a super fast review of the dynamic learning system. You've just invested some time going through a masterclass, so we want to make sure you get the maximum results possible from that masterclass. So we're going to do a quick review of how your brain works. You remember in the dynamic learning video, we said that when you go through some material, you start forgetting the material as soon as you go through it, and within 24 hours, you've forgotten about 75% of it, which is a frightening statistic. And the reason that happens is really simple. As soon as you stop learning something, your brain immediately starts forgetting it. That's the way the brain works. We need to counteract that activity with what's called spaced repetition systems. It's built into Profitology, and I'll recap it again in a couple of minutes. The other thing the brain likes is it likes to learn using multiple modalities, so different channels into the brain. You've just watched a video, visual, the graphic guidebooks are visual. You had auditory on the video, you've got auditory in the MP3s, you've got kinesthetic exercises to do in the workbook and exercises to do in the real world of business. So your brain loves all of that multi-channel learning. It's a great way to take new information into the brain. We also mentioned habits as a three-part system, and the key thing we said about habits, they take a while to kick in, to learn new ones, but once you've got them, they stay with you for a long time if you do it the right way. And I gave you the metaphor of somebody walking through a country walk. So going for a country walk, the first time you go for that country walk, they're laying down, metaphorically, a neural pathway in the brain, but it's pretty feeble. You can barely see it if you look back behind you. But you do it enough times, as you see in the motorway image at the bottom of your screen there, and it's pretty robust and strong, and it's going to be hard to hide that and make it go away. And the way we're going to create those motorways in your brain, so those well-worn paths in your brain, is we're going to use the dynamic learning grid. And the way that works is this quick review on a daily basis, 5 or 6 minutes is all it takes. And we're going to do it for 21 days, and then we're going to repeat that 2 more times. Pretty simple to do. Watch the video at least once. I know you've done that because you're watching this right now. So I'm assuming you watched the full video. That's good. You've got MP3s. If you don't know how to download those, get somebody to help you. But they're really important, and get them on your playlist so you can play those while you're on the move, so you can be using that downtime to grow your business. Make sure you print out the handouts, the graphic guidebooks, the types of ones you see on the left on the screen there. They're fantastic for that 6-minute daily review. And the ones on the right is where you implement the whatever it is you've learned on the video you've just watched. So they are implementation workbooks. And remember, this material is fully mobile. So wherever you are, you can take this with you on the go, which is fantastic. And the process is pretty simple. An hour a week. Watch the video, do the exercises, and then 6-minute review on the other 4 days. That's all you have to do. That's the way the whole system works. Just follow the instructions. All that dynamic learning system process will happen automatically for you. That's all for today. And remember, dream big and dig deep.